Hello, I'm so excited to answer these questions that I recently received. The questions that are more general are going to be kind of a quick overview, and please know that this isn't black and white. These things of what is a shaman and what is a shamanic practitioner. There's a lot of gray, and you're probably going to get kind of different answers from different people. So, the answers that I give you are going to be more so like the general consensus of what these things are. And the questions that are about me specifically are really good questions to have in your back pocket if you're thinking about working with a shamanic practitioner for healing or doing ceremony or doing any training with them. So, a shaman is someone that we generally think of as somebody that is living on or near their ancestral land. They're living in a community that is, kind of more traditional, more indigenous. They may have modern, components to their community too, but they do have those more indigenous traditional roots. They have gained their shamanic wisdom and tools from a lineage that is of their ancestry in which the link has not been broken. It's been passed down generationally. So there are some really wonderful people that I know that call themselves shamans that live in the modern Western world like I do. If you meet someone like that, please don't just discount them as, not being legitimate or something. They may have a really good reason that they call themselves a shaman. So just ask with curiosity. They might have a perspective that I do not. So a shamanic practitioner, that is what I call myself, is somebody that is living and engaging in this modern Western world. And we have been trained by shamans and or shamanic practitioners in either a lineage that is not of our ancestry, an open lineage, or perhaps our own lineage, or core shamanism, or a blend of all of those things. So, core shamanism is Michael Harner's, he developed that. So, it was him and Sandra Harner that developed and really made possible that body of work. And Michael Harner, I think it was the 1940s, studied with many shamanic cultures all around the world. And he distilled the universal or nearly universal practices and teachings, methods, into what is now core shamanism. And through the Foundation for Shamanic Studies, which if you check out the website on the homepage, there's a really wonderful video about Michael and Sandra Harner and their work. Through their foundation, you can learn. You can go really deep with your education and training with what I believe is a lineage. It's a modern Western lineage, core shamanism, and it's really, really good work. Sandra Engerman also teaches core shamanism. She's a wonderful teacher too. So I've trained with both Sandra's teacher, one of her teachers, and then with one of Michael Harner's teachers, and I've trained with the Quiro lineage of the Andes in Peru. And it is an ancient prophecy for them, the prophecy of the Pachacuti, that they were to come down from the remote mountains in which they had been living for a really long time since the Spanish had came and conquered and colonized Peru. There was a certain time that they were to come down and share their knowledge and their tools with anyone that wanted access. So that is why there are so many of us that are trained in that lineage. And you can check out my resources section on my website. It is on the page, What is Shamanism? There's a link to the prophecy of the Pachacuti there, along with a bunch of other resources. There's videos and articles and websites and books there. If you feel attracted to learning or taking part in a ceremony of, a specific lineage, or, just anything, any sort of shamanic training or ceremony or whatever, please do some research to make sure that it is coming from a lineage that was meant to be shared with you. Because like I mentioned, there are lineages that are, kind of closed, really weren't meant to be shared with people outside of the ancestry. Somebody asked what my earth medicines are. I'm going to do another video to show you all of what I use. I am a forager, so a lot of my earth medicines are from my own adventures. The only ones that aren't are the gifts that I have received from friends. But I will say that the earth is medicine. I think of earth medicine as nature's gift to us to heal ourselves, to transmute energy, to shift our lives. And the earth totally does that. If you get your body on the earth or on a big fat mossy log or a big rock or the water in an intentional way, the earth will take away your heavy energy, will mulch it into new life for something else and rejuvenate us. Earth, the nature, it really imparts so much wisdom and clarity and gives us so much guidance. So in addition to, just the earth as medicine, I've got many, many tools that, like I said, I will show you later. Just real quick, currently what I have been working with are some things that I've recently foraged of juniper and pine and some cedar, and then leaves and flowers and all kinds of things that I've collected. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see what else I use. I hope that it will inspire you to think outside the box as you start to add to your own earth medicine collection. Somebody asked what my practices are. So I wasn't sure if it was personal or professional, but both are important to know, I think, if you're going to consider working with a shamanic practitioner. So my professional practices is always evolving. I'm always learning more and adding more tools to my toolbox. But currently what I am offering is soul retrieval, destiny retrieval, extraction, cord cutting. I do a little bit of psychopomp work. I do quite a bit of spirit detachment, spirit removal. I do curse unraveling. So those are the biggies. In terms of my personal practices, this is important to think about because, we are this hollow bone. We are this empty vessel in which, when you're receiving healing or information from a shamanic practitioner or a shaman, it's not coming from our brains. Like, this isn't our knowledge that we are imparting on you. It's coming from our helping spirits or your helping spirits, and they speak through us. We're the translator, really. So we need to keep ourselves really clean and clear in our energetic bodies so that we can be the absolute best translator for you, so we can serve you to our highest abilities. So my personal practices do shift with the seasons, but lately it's been a lot of breath work, gratitude work. It's been a lot of meditation, shamanic journeying, getting to bed early, getting lots of rest, being very mindful of what I put into my body and the quality of the food and the beverages that I put into my body, a lot of shamanic journeying. So it's a smattering of things. And it's also just, what I do throughout my day. As a shamanic practitioner, we don't wear our practitioner hat and then wear our everyday person hat. The two really come together so seamlessly, and it's about like a full integration of the knowledge of the connection with our helping spirits, with this web of life in which we are all connected, in which all living beings are connected. Somebody asked what tribe I belong to. It's probably clear at this point that you don't need to belong to a tribe to be a shamanic practitioner. I do not belong to a tribe. I think I've kind of touched on this, but shamanism has been practiced around the world for tens of thousands of years. So no matter where your ancestors are from, they definitely practiced shamanism in some way. I'm not saying they were all shamans, but shamanism was a part of their culture. So if you are at all interested in kind of dipping your toe into this space, again, Core Shamanism is great. Check out the Peruvian lineage of the Andes, the Quiro people there, and look into your own ancestry. I guarantee that the shamanic culture of your ancestry is rich. I do have a post on my blog about shamanism and how to engage with it in a way that is not culturally appropriating. And there's a bunch of questions in that post for you to, really dig into, of like learning what your ancestors, like what is their shamanic practice, what was their shamanic practice. So that will give you like a good jumping off point if you are interested in diving into that. In closing, I'd just like to say that, when I decided to call myself a shamanic practitioner, it really was based on so many things. It's my training, hundreds of hours of training with human teachers. It's the apprenticeship of over 100 hours of working on volunteers before I ever took $1, to make sure that I was getting the powerful results that I need to be getting to call myself a shamanic practitioner. It's the lifestyle, the connection with, again, that web of life, and carrying that out throughout my day, and the gratitude, and remembering to, when something fires me up, not to come to it from a place of reaction, to like take the opportunity to reflect. Because when we're put in these situations of discomfort with people, we're being asked to look in a mirror or to go deeper with our healing, right? So it's like that knowledge of, if you say something to me and it upsets me, it doesn't mean that I need to be upset at you. It means that I need to go deeper with my own healing work, or just look at what's coming up and why that's coming up. So, in addition to all those lifestyle things of like training and connecting with your helping spirits, they are your teachers too, every bit as much as your human teachers are. What also went into, me calling myself a shamanic practitioner is just, honestly, like a deep honoring and gratitude for those cultures, the people and the shamans that opened their hearts and opened their doors to Michael Harner when he was going around to these indigenous places that maybe they hadn't seen a white dude come. Like maybe they had only heard stories from things that had happened in the past, because what we know in North America and South America of cultures being conquered and colonized, and of genocide, and their practices and language and ceremonies being outlawed, like that happened all around the world. So I think that those cultures, those shamans that worked with Michael Harner, that said, yes, we will give you these tools, I just think that, gosh, they were incredible. They were so resilient and fierce and strong. And I think that they knew that humanity was approaching this point in which we're kind of at this tipping point, right? Like things could go in a bad way, or things could repair. And I think, this is my theory, is that they knew by sharing their tools, so that all of us whose lineage has been broken for all these reasons, right? That we needed to reestablish these connections with our ancient spirituality in order to get the boat moving in the right direction again, to save humanity and future generations and our planet. So, in calling myself a shamanic practitioner, it is with deep honor and respect for those people, for those cultures, of thank you for opening your door to Michael Harner and to others that have come after to learn, because that might have felt like a huge risk. And I want to keep the word alive. I want to be a part of that. So that's my scoop. I hope that I answered all the questions. Of course, if you have questions, please don't be shy. And I hope you have a really, really lovely day. Bye.